Tomorrow is 2 hours. It's okay. Tomorrow's 2 hours. 1 hour is more than enough tonight. Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to NewsNation, your watchdog for government transparency. And the dog is barking because President Trump promised answers about the drones. Remember the ones everyone cared about for a few days when they seemed to be all over military bases in New Jersey and across the country? Well, we got answers from his new spokesperson.
And before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy.
All accounted for by the FAA. That's what the Biden administration said. The same report that Trump mocked during the campaign and said there had to be a better answer. Then we get the same one? What about the multiple reports of SUV-sized drones? Were they all fake? She didn't even address them. Was the FAA aware of them? Or are they licensed or authorized? How? Sorry, we're told they're not the enemy, so what were they? To advance our understanding of what they are and why we're not getting more information from the Trump administration, tonight I have the man, Jeremy Corbell, with what he's hearing and why his new series, Digging for the Truth about UFOs in Washington, D.C., is getting so much buzz. All right, he's coming up in the show. Now, look, I can't put all the blame on the new Trump spokesperson, Caroline Leavitt, because the pushback to her statement required pretty basic questions. None of them were asked. Why? Because no one there, including all the new pod people and the independents and the digital people, none of them care about anything but viral moments to make their advantage in the political gotcha game. And you know why. It's the same reason I tell you to pay less attention to the war of words online. The commodity is not truth nor transparency, but outrage. The media hunts for viral moments. Digital yappers pick sides and sell you hot takes. And the truth is collateral damage in a war of memes and bad messaging. That's the reality. I have been in this business for 25 years and lived the evolution or the devolution, depending on how you see it, that's led us here. And I know the antidote. You have to be independent. Forget about the parties. Just be what you are naturally, critical thinkers. Focus on what is done to fix. Not what is said about what they want to do, and not what is said about what they say that they want to do. For example, the ICE raids. Trump promised to do them. He got elected to do them. He is doing them. Now, the question is not why is he doing this? You know why. The question is, are they a good fix? One side says they're the answer. The other side says they're anathema to what America is about. Ignore it all. See whom they grab and what happens to help and hurt communities. And then you will see the reality, for better or worse, and you will see it soon. Look, I have no problem with saying that people who are here illegally know what they signed up for when they did what they did. And if they are accused of a serious crime while here, we have a consensus that they should be removed. And Biden wasn't doing enough. And I also get the people who feel that this will get the wrong people and that there is fear and pain. I have people who are not here legally in my life telling me how freaked out they are for themselves and their kids, and they're good people, and I feel for them. But blaming Trump for trying is unfair, and assuming everyone they grab is going to be a bad guy who brings fentanyl into the country is unfair. As a grandson of immigrants, as the son of a man who was seen as less than because of his ethnicity, I get the sensitivity. But the only rational choice is to judge the actions, not the motivation for the actions. That's cheap. The outcomes will come. Which brings me to tonight's serving of food for thought. How to analyze Trump's latest offering to this awful game. His move in California. What he said versus what he did. What he said. The United States military just entered the great state of California and under emergency powers turned on the water, all caps, flowing abundantly from the Pacific Northwest and beyond. Now, what motivated this? The Trump trope from the beginning is that only he can fix what Democrats broke and caused the fires in California. The simple fact is what caused those fires to be as bad as they were the Santa Ana winds. They were the X factor that controlled the catastrophe in terms of scope and duration. Was it a single factor thing? Of course not. But you have to know the fires were never going to be controlled by efforts only on the ground. They required planes and helicopters to dump water on the fire, but they were grounded for a long time because of the winds. Trump wants it to be about management. And in the absence of facts, he creates messaging that everyone can go crazy about. But to a critical thinker, what matters is whether or not anything is actually being done to fix the problem. Did Trump use the military to turn back on the water? No. Is what he did something that will prevent any such catastrophe in LA going forward? No. How do we know? Well, we know the military wasn't sent in to deal with water. So why did he say that? Because he's a liar. That's cheap. Because from a messaging perspective, it sounds strong. That's why he sent the military to the border in California and elsewhere. Sure, they're only dealing with logistics, but it sounds tough. It's a show of force. That matters in politics. So, did the federal government do anything in California? Yes. Last week, Trump signed an order directing federal agencies to maximize water deliveries in California via the federally managed Central Valley Project. As a result, federal authorities turned the water back on in a facility up north. And Trump says that that water is going to be used to fight any future fires. Now, I don't know what's scarier. If someone told him that when it's demonstrably false, or that he wants you to believe it when it's so demonstrably false. But either way, it ain't the fix that's needed. How do we know? This pumping station up north was online during the catastrophic fires. So if it was a game changer, clearly it wasn't, right? Because it was part of the action at that time. The station was only taken offline a few days ago. So this is a bluff from the start, right? I mean, the assumption both ways is wrong. It was offline, I just turned it back on, so we're good. No, it wasn't offline, and it didn't matter when the fires were there. Second, even if what he turned back on was off during the fires, and they weren't, but even if they were off, they're not connected to the LA fire infrastructure for emergency use in situations like what we all watched in horror in the Pacific Palisades. Literally, the system that he turned back on ends near Bakersfield, California, 100 miles north of LA. Now, the last point here is the most instructive because you got to expose this game. The whole reason Trump made this announcement is to play on the idea that the firefighters in Southern California had a water shortage, and that water shortage was a function of Democratic mismanagement. Now, notice, you never saw firefighters who were in this situation at the time saying that that was a problem, that they had empty hydrants because they didn't have enough water. In fact, on NewsNation, we had them consistently telling us it wasn't true. Why? That's because Pacific Palisades relied on 3 tanks that stored 1 million gallons of water each, and they were used to maintain water pressure uphill. A lot of those houses, a lot of those fires were at elevation. They were all filled to capacity. So the supply being mismanaged wasn't the point. It's that the system was not designed to pump as much water as was used at such elevations where those fires were in Pacific Palisades. So, should the system be redesigned? Maybe. Should there be other practices and restrictions in place so that there's less fuel and more protection of homes? Probably. Like what? Mandating houses that have pools to have pumps installed so that they can use that water to protect the house and surrounding ground. Maybe. But Trump's not having that conversation. Why? Because he doesn't have to. Because all he has to do is blame the Democrats, and that gets the game going. And I do not blame him for playing the game. I don't hate the player. I hate the game. Because everybody plays along. What he did and what he says is not a fact, and it's not a fix. It's easy to play politics and say that the other side is to blame, or even better, that they're worse. That's why I tell you to ignore it, even if it means ignoring the President of the United States sometimes when it comes to what he posts on social media or even sometimes what he says out loud. You cannot blame him for taking advantage of a culture and a game that everybody participates in when it works for them. I know that leaders, when they speak, are supposed to be listened to, or that's how it used to be. But now you got to understand where we are and how to survive it and how to get us to a better place. The commodity is outrage and blame, because that's all these two parties seek. And that's a big reason that Trump broke through, because he doesn't like the parties either. Yes, he's a Republican, but he's a Republican because you have to be in order to compete. But he's not in love with his party either. And that's probably one of his best virtues as a leader. That's why we have to focus on what is done to fix. With Trump, what is he doing to fix? Not what he says about it, and then how does it go? Did it work? Is it better or not? Just focus on what is done and what it does, okay? Now, that takes us to tomorrow. Bobby's going to get in. He's not going to get in. It's going to be Tulsi. It's going to be it. They don't know. They don't know. So you have to watch the hearings and see how it goes. I don't care who's predicting what. They don't know, okay? The Senate hearings begin tomorrow for Bobby Jr., Trump's pick, obviously, to run the Department of Health and Human Services. Huge job, 2-day hearing. Now, today, I don't even know how to describe it, but he took a friendly fire attack, which should be friendly fire, from his own family, once again, that I've never seen anything like it. And if it weren't in these crazy days that we're living, I don't know how anybody would be able to survive it, to be honest. His cousin, Caroline Kennedy, daughter of President Kennedy, released this letter that she wrote, urging the Senate to reject her cousin's nomination. She talks about Kennedy like he's a villain. Didn't just attack policies. I mean, forget it. It wasn't about policy at all. It was that this is a bad guy. Here is her reading some of the letter.
Agencies that are charged with protecting the most vulnerable among us is an enormous responsibility, and one that Bobby is unqualified to fill. He lacks any relevant government, financial, management, or medical experience. His views on vaccines are dangerous and willfully misinformed. It's no surprise that he keeps birds of prey as pets, because Bobby himself is a predator. I watch his younger brothers and cousins follow him down the path of drug addiction. His basement, his garage, his dorm room were always the center of the action, where drugs were available, and he enjoyed showing off how he put baby chickens and mice in a blender to feed to his hawks. Bobby preys on the desperation of parents of sick children, vaccinating his own kids, while building a following hypocritically discouraging other parents from vaccinating theirs. We are a close family, and none of that is easy to say. It also wasn't easy to remain silent last year when Bobby expropriated my father's image and distorted President Kennedy's legacy to advance his own failed presidential campaign, and then groveled to Donald Trump for a job. The American healthcare system, for all its flaws, is the envy of the world. They deserve a secretary committed to advancing cutting-edge medicine to save lives, not to rejecting the advances we have already made. They deserve a stable, moral, and ethical person at the helm of this crucial agency. They deserve better than Bobby Kennedy, and so do the rest of us.
I got to tell you, I don't know what to say about it. Now, first of all, I'm compromised. My brother was married to Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s sister for a long time. She's a beautiful person. They got beautiful kids together. I know everybody involved really well. And I don't know what to say because I can't imagine ever being in a situation like this. And I never thought I would see the Kennedys in a situation like this. All they've lived through. And Trump winds up turning them into, going at each other like we've never seen before. The question is, does this matter to the people who picked him? And will it matter to the votes that they need? Now that I can bring in someone to speak to. Former co-chair of the RNC, daughter-in-law to President Trump, Lara Trump. It is good to see you. Congratulations. I haven't had a chance to congratulate you digitally, face-to-face. So congratulations on the win. Best to the family and good health going forward this year.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Chris.
So there, but for the grace. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't know how I would handle this if it was coming my way and I was in the kind of situation that Bobby's is. So what does this mean to the president and the administration and to the votes? What's your sense about where this puts Bobby?
Well, I mean, you just described why you hate the political game. I would describe what we just watched there as part of that political game. There is no doubt that the reason Caroline Kennedy came out with this video in the time frame that she did was because she was probably encouraged by the Democrats to do it. Look, they are trying to character assassinate RFK Jr. before his confirmation hearing. They're trying to figure out ways to fight against the Trump administration. This is a president who was elected with 312 electoral votes, the popular vote, all 7 swing states, and a mandate from the American people. The folks he has beside him in this administration really matter to him. And one of the very important people that he has chosen to serve alongside of him is Bobby Kennedy. And I think that this is disgusting to see, quite frankly, but it shouldn't surprise anyone. Maybe it's surprising because it's the Kennedy family. But how will it affect things? I don't know that it will at all. I think that everybody should watch the confirmation hearing, listen to the answers that he delivers, and take them at face value. I'm sure the senators have a lot of questions they're going to ask him. They're going to push him on a lot. They've done that for every single one of the folks that we've seen thus far. So I don't think it'll be any different. I do think the American people are fully behind what he wants to do. I think we want more transparency, not less. I think that's something he's been a champion of. The fact that you have a person, Chris, who wanted to run as a Democrat for president, wanted to primary Joe Biden, had that process actually been able to play out, and is now here wanting to serve in a Republican administration because he feels so strongly about setting things on the right track for our health. It's not that he is against vaccines. It's that he wants more research on vaccines. He wants us to know what we have in our food system. As a mom, I can tell you that is a high concern of mine. What am I feeding my kids? Is it poisoning them every day? So look, we'll see how it plays out. I don't think this matters. I think this is more disgusting politics.
What are you trying to suggest, that I don't care about what my kids eat because I'm a dad and not a mom? Is that what you're coming at me with? So let me ask you, can you
would infer that.
I would, because I'm a self-loathing crazy man. Lara, are you able to share, did this video change the rhythm of what you're getting in terms of pushback from the votes that you need? Are you able to discern any change because of this?
Not that I'm aware, no. I mean, look, we'll see how it all goes. But as far as I understand, this has not impacted anyone. And I think it kind of looks like sour grapes from a family who's been synonymous with Democrats, who has someone in their midst who has changed his tune and is willing to work across the aisle. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Chris, I would love to see more of that. So I don't know that this is going to impact anybody, but obviously we'll have to wait and see.
The president hasn't said anything. Does he need to?
I don't think so. I think he said all he needs to say. He has been very happy to have Bobby Kennedy alongside him and part of the campaign. Obviously, he wants him as part of his administration in a very key role. He's got 4 years to make a difference, to really do things that are going to impact the health of people here in the United States of America. And we are the leader of the free world. We are the ones to whom everyone else around the world looks. And it is a big role. He has not changed his tune. He is very excited to have RFK Jr. there working alongside of him. And I hope that's what we see happen.
Lara, what is the message to Republican senators who will be voting on this, who say, hey, look, this guy's not one of us. And we get what the president wanted to do. But if somebody has to go down so we can kind of salvage our dignity, it's going to be this guy because he's a Democrat anyway. What is President Trump's message to senators who are seeing it that way?
I think it's been the same message he's had for all of his choices in his administration, which is that The American people resoundingly spoke out and voted him into office as our 47th president. And they knew full well that these were people he had alongside of him. And he talked consistently throughout the campaign, specifically about RFK Jr. and how he wanted to utilize him and where he wanted him to serve in his administration. So I would remind everyone voting on this, this is the will of the people. This is what they wanted. Their choice was Donald Trump, but their choice was also to have these people surrounding him in this administration so that they can actually get great work done on behalf of the country. So that's been the same tune that we've had, as my father-in-law has had, for every single one of his picks for his cabinet. And, you know, I would say the same thing right now.
Last thing, Lara, the raids that are going on with ICE, frankly, my estimation, it's too early to tell. As you know, we volunteered to be there, but they're all made for TV moments anyway. And I'm not saying that as a criticism. I think the more people get to see, the better. If it looks like an episode of Cops, fine. You know, it is what it is. But what is the level of concern that the pressure to put up numbers will wind up sweeping up people that are beloved in communities, that aren't the bad guys, that have kids, that run establishments that people know and like? Are you concerned about that? Is it part of the calculus of adjustments that could be made and who's grabbed and why?
Look, I don't think it's a numbers game at all. I think this is about setting America on a path for success. And we can't have a successful country. We can't have a safe country, Chris, with open borders. This was the number one issue that people went to the polls and voted on November 5th and in early voting. They wanted a secure southern border. How do you achieve that? First of all, you have to make a big statement. And the statement has been made thus far by ICE, by Tom Homan, the border czar, by Donald Trump, by Kristi Noem. They are saying, if you are a criminal and you want to come to the United States of America, we are going to prioritize sending you back. We don't want murderers here. We don't want rapists here. We don't want gang members here. But, you know, this is also a message to anybody who wants to come illegally in general. You saw that the numbers were very low during Donald Trump's first term in office in terms of border crossings. And that's because people understood, I don't want to make that dangerous journey because I am probably going to get turned away. We had the Remain in Mexico policy, obviously, in place during his time in office. That's got to be what we have going on in this country. We have to send the message around the world. It's not just from Mexico. It's not just from Central and South America. We have people from all over the world who have taken advantage of this country over the last 4 years. So it's not a numbers game. It's about getting the bad people out, ensuring they stay out, and sending a message to people that this is not the time. You can't come to America illegally. You can't come over whenever you're 8.5 months pregnant, have a baby, and receive all the benefits of the American people. This is not how this country is going to be successful. Donald Trump wants us to be a successful country, and it has to start by securing our borders. And obviously, that was a day one priority, and you've seen that happen.
Lara Trump, I appreciate the perspective from someone watching it happen in the inner sanctum, and you are always welcome here to make the case. I will keep bothering you, and you can accept when you want to.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
All right. Good luck going forward. Take care. 4 minutes and 5 seconds. Coming up, the Trump administration has promised complete transparency, okay? We're going to see about JFK. We're going to see about RFK. We're going to see about Epstein. Oh, no, we're not. Okay. We're going to see about UFOs. But then we got that Fugazi answer. That's the same thing we heard from the Bidens. What about the SUV-sized ones? Investigative journalist Jeremy Corbell knows better. And that's why his series is blowing up online. Are you watching it? Jeremy joins us next. Earlier today, we learned Donald Trump agreed with the Biden administration about the drones flying over New Jersey. And I was so disappointed. His press secretary reassured the public that there was nothing nefarious going on. And I'm not saying there is. I'm not looking for ET. Okay, it's just there are too many reports of too many things that I can't believe the FAA authorizes. Big ass drones? Who has them? Okay, maybe the FAA does, but where are they coming from? Well, you know what I mean? What is that? So how do they not know? This was exactly what Trump mocked during the campaign. I don't get it. Investigative journalist Jeremy Corbell might. He says the government is not being transparent still. especially when it comes to UAPs like the ones that everybody cared about for 5 minutes. He has a new season of his docuseries, TMZ Presents UFO Revolution, where he speaks directly to a former member of the military who recorded footage of a UFO over Iraq. Just take a look.
I was looking through my camera screen to keep continually raising, almost kind of I'm using that as like a giant scope to like catch everything. It swayed to the left, to the right, and then went upward and didn't go straight up, but it veered a little bit, and almost like a back and forth motion. It just kept going up, and I was like, what the hell is this guy doing? I knew it wasn't right.
But when he finally gets zoomed in and you see the shape.
It was almost like a dish-looking thing with like something kind of slightly protruding over the top, maybe. I'll say 25 feet, like across, I don't know, from the top to the bottom, maybe 15 feet or something like that.
Yeah, I used to play that game, Asteroid, when I was a kid. Pew, 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 pew. There's so much anecdotal evidence about things. It can't just be, oh, yeah, it's all just hobbyists. And investigative journalist and co-host of the Weaponized podcast, Jeremy Corbell. I got to tell you, handsome, I was disappointed today, and that happens very rarely. I thought that they were going to say some things about what's going on and the different kinds of drones and the new reality and what has to change. And we got none of it. Was I just wrong in my expectation, or are we still waiting for the truth?
Yeah, I mean, just logically, good to see you. Just logically, that explanation does not make any sense. Did the FAA authorize the ones that buzzed Langley for 17 nights in a row? Or the untrackable drones that infiltrated 3 U.S. and UK air bases for weeks? Why were the drones not affected by anti-drone technology? Did the FAA issue flight restrictions if they authorized this? If these were approved tests, why did the FAA, DOD, FBI, or anybody else, why didn't they tell us that for months? It's an absolute whitewash. It's sad to hear. I was disappointed we didn't get any true answers this time.
Not a single, all the pod people and all the real truth seekers who are anti-legacy media, not a single question, because they think that people like you are tinfoil hat kooks, and this is beneath the dignity of their curiosity.
Yeah, I think we all want to believe in more truth and transparency. And from my experiences, which you do see in my new show, you see me fighting for truth and transparency by bringing firsthand whistleblowers into Congress. What I noticed, sadly, is almost like a changing of the guard. And we've admitted UFOs are real, and now we're kind of altering the way that people perceive them. And it's really sad to me, but I saw some lies in Congress, and it made me really sad.
Look, to me, I'm fascinated by the big ones because I can't find anybody who has any kind of drone. Well, look, I'm not talking about like Predator drones and things that the military has, but there has to be an explanation for what's going on. And it just felt like they said the exact same thing the Biden administration did. So who is keeping even the Trump folk from saying what they actually do know?
A lot of presidents throughout time have tried to tell the public about UFOs. There was a big push by the Clintons and John Podesta. This is well documented. Clinton said it himself that he believes he was lied to. So you're asking, who is it that controls this information? And what I witnessed myself is that within government, there appears to be career people. I would imagine the people that are holding the technology, like Lockheed Martin, for example, tried to take one of the craft of NHI, which means non-human intelligence, believe it or not, but it's been admitted to by the head of the DIA UFO program that they tried to bring a UFO over to a government program, and it was shut down by the CIA. This is well documented. He came on my show with George Knapp, and he told everybody about it. So if that is true, then the people that have vested interest in keeping this from the American public are the people that are trying to exploit those technologies for patents and derivative technologies. So what we're seeing is a change of the guard, but I really hope that the pressure is put on and that we will get some transparency on this. Look, UFOs are real. The Immaculate Constellation document that came out in Congress, that is legitimate information that the American public needs to know about. I don't know where this goes. but I know that the fight continues to try to get transparency on whatever UFOs represent to humankind.
Jeremy Corbell, I wish you continued success. Great to hear all the buzz about the new season of the TMZ series. You're always welcome here, and thank you for helping me understand what the right questions are to ask and where I should be directing it. I appreciate the push for transparency. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Talk to you soon. We'll all do our best. Thank you.
All right, bud. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. It's just transparency, because look, it's in Latin they say falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus. If you won't be transparent about one thing, you're not motivated to be transparent about anything. Yesterday on the show, Carville said one of the reasons the Democrats lost to Trump is because Biden listened to the idiot left. Carville's not alone in that. I got a leading Democratic member of Congress, smart guy, respected guy, saying his party is making the same mistakes and there needs to be a change, and he'll tell you what it is. State Democratic Representative Adam Smith joins us now. Haven't spoken to you. Happy New Year, sir. Good luck doing the work of the people.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well. It's gonna be an interesting year. I think we can already tell that.
Seems a little bit like I've seen this movie before, where everything that Trump says, the Democrats go crazy. We both know the expression, what got you here won't get you where you want to be, necessarily. Do you see that in some of the players in your party?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things. I mean, one, we do need to be a lot more selective about, what we're concerned about that Trump's doing. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the week we spent about, Elon Musk's salute seemed like a waste of time. I think we need to focus more specifically on issues. Now, when Trump comes out and says he's just not going to spend money on any domestic programs, that's probably worth talking about. And it's had a significant impact. But the second thing is, and this point to your lead into this segment, my party needs to reestablish our credibility on a number of issues. It's not going to be enough, even if it is strategic and tactical and smart, to criticize what Donald Trump does. I mean, we have to do that, and we have to do it intelligently. It's just not going to be enough because we don't have the credibility that we need on issues like immigration, like DEI, dealing with racism and discrimination, like the economy. I think we need to spend more time reestablishing our own credibility, not just bashing on what Trump does.
Well, it depends on who we is. I mean, I agree with you about Schumer, but not guys like you. You are a big investor in the better idea. I mean, that's always been the space for Democrats. I can't tell you how much I enjoy the young members of your party online telling me I don't understand the Democratic Party. I always tell them just to Google me, and you may see that it's a couple of generations deep of my understanding. But what you guys do at your best is counter with better ideas for working class people. That was my father's constituency was almost all what is now MAGA. He didn't fight these BS culture wars, but you guys were about ideas. You're about it all the time. How do you make that shift in your party where you don't play gotcha with him online the way AOC does? You get back to who are you for and how do you prove it?
Well, what I do is, in fact, I just spent all day today down in Olympia, Washington State Capitol, meeting with state legislators, meeting with the governor, meeting with other key legislators, and saying, look, if we govern well, that's the best thing we can do to counter Trump. So what are we doing about crime, about homelessness, about drug abuse, about affordable housing? I spent a lot of time today talking about affordable housing. I mean, this is a core progressive idea, to your point, about what working class, blue collar Democrats like your father, and I like to think me, want to work on. Making housing affordable. But we can't build housing in part because of all the rules, all the regulations, all of the incompetence of Democratic governance. Fix that, okay? Show people that we can build housing. Show people that we do believe in opportunity and personal responsibility. You can believe in both, and you'll do a better job of delivering for people if you do.
Is there a chance that you guys will work with Republicans on comprehensive immigration reform so that they don't get the win? Because they have the numbers to pass it. You know that if they, do you think that'll happen, or do you think guys will resist on the basis of wanting amnesty in there?
I think it's going to be hard. We're going to resist on the basis of where Trump is at on immigration is something that we shouldn't support. OK, we shouldn't support deporting every single undocumented immigrant in the United States of America. We shouldn't support, as he's done now, blocking already approved refugees from coming into the U.S. Also, by the way, we have refugees who have been resettled in the U.S., qualified for the refugee program, and the Trump administration has cut off the funds for that now, has cut off the funds for the refugees who are actually here. OK, now, I think if Republicans want to have a conversation, we need more border security. We need a secure border. And we need to admit, on my side, the Biden administration didn't do that. OK, at least not until the last 6 to 8 months. All right. We failed, and we failed because we followed the far left's policies. OK, on don't deport anybody, open up the borders for many more asylum seekers without being concerned about the volume. OK, I think we need to be honest with the American people. We screwed up. All right. And we are going to reestablish our credibility and have a sensible approach. But I think you would agree when you look at the initial steps that the Trump administration has taken. I mean, you can be a reasonable Democrat like me and still be deeply troubled by the approach that the Trump administration is taking on immigration.
I just think that you kind of, well, we'll leave it here for now, and let's see how these operations go, and I'll invite you back on a regular basis to discuss the state of play. I just think Democrats don't have the high ground to criticize the attempt when it's necessary because of what wasn't done during the Biden administration. Who they wind up grabbing, do they grab the wrong people, or are they all people who've been accused of serious crimes? Time will tell, and then you have an opportunity to scrutinize, and you'll be invited here to do that. Congressman Smith, I appreciate it.
Credibility on the issue. We lack credibility on the issue, no question, and we have to reestablish that.
Yep, and I'm not talking about you. I agree about your party, but I think you're a fair broker, and you're always welcome here. Congressman Adam Smith, good luck doing the work of the people.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
All right, 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Up next, this is a sticky wicket, and a lot of people aren't going to like the reporting on this story because we're moved by sentimentality. I like Blake Lively. We believe that women have to endure things that they should not. But does that make every allegation so? Justin Baldoni was getting beat up because the story is that there's now proof that he apologized, so she must be telling you the truth about everything. But it seemed to me so obvious once I read in on it, and remember, I have unusual access to the reporting on this story, that this story's getting twisted. Now I have the exclusive right to play you audio that provides context for this relationship, and then you judge it, okay? Next. It ends with us. The stars Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively seem to have no end to their feud. And I call it a feud on purpose because I'm not sure that this is a typical Me Too allegation, which is how it was initially presented. Why? Well, first, you have the facts. Also, you have, and they keep changing to suggest something different. Then you have this unusual move by Baldoni suing Lively for her accusations, her and her star husband, Ryan Reynolds. Why? He claims extortion, defamation, and a smear campaign, that all of this was a way to manipulate and play a control game, her against him. Now, what makes it unusual is anybody can sue and just say that. He's got receipts. Dozens of screenshots of text messages between the two stars, many referencing Lively's process of rewriting a key scene in the film. Now, you could say, so what? She rewrote it. Well, it's about what caused the tension and what she was willing to do about it. And you have Baldoni, the star, the director and producer of the film, and Lively, who was hired to be an actress, not a writer, but, you know, they often rewrite. So then you get an audio message of Baldoni seemingly apologizing to Lively. So it makes it look like he must have done what she says he'd done. Otherwise, why is he apologizing? Then we get exclusive rights to play you that audio in context. Let's bring in NewsNation legal contributor Jesse Weber. He's been following this from the beginning. Am I kind of getting it? I mean, you know, I'm not into it as deep as you are, but my lawyer, Brian Friedman, is involved in this. And I know him pretty well, and when he goes for it and when he doesn't.
So let me provide a little context to what we're about to hear. So you have this voice note from 2 a.m. back in April of 2023. When you first listen to it, if you don't know the facts of the case, you're going to be like, for a guy accused of sexually harassing Blake Lively, this sounds really damning. He's talking about her body. He's talking about having all of her. He's sending it at 2 a.m. I mean, doesn't this defeat his case? When you read between the lines and you look a little deeper, you realize that, 10 minutes before he sent this voice note, Blake Lively had sent him a very long text message, getting quite personal, talking about her insecurities. And here's the most important part. She referenced Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift, and that when she feels that she's not heard, she has to turn to them. These are megastars in the industry. And if she felt that her rewrites of a key scene were not being heard by Justin Baldoni, she sics these two people onto him. So if you think from his perspective, I'm being intimidated, I'm being pressured, I will apologize, I will say whatever I have to do to acquiesce to Blake Lively, I don't want my career to end, that's when you listen to this video. So there's two different contexts. I think we have it lined up. Let's play it, and we'll hear both sides of it.
Hey, Blake. It is 2 in the morning. Hopefully this does not wake you up. I want to start with an apology. I f***ed up. That is a fail on my part. I'm a very flawed man, as my wife will attest. And I'm going to f*** up. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to put my foot in my mouth. I'm going to piss you off, probably, but I will always apologize. And damn right, you got great friends if that's how you felt and they knew that. And we should all have friends like that, aside from the fact that they're two of the most creative people on the planet. The three of you guys together is unbelievable. Talk about energy and just to force all three of you. But I just wanted you to know that I didn't need that because it's really good and it's going to make the movie sing, like you said. I'm just really looking forward to spending time together. And I think that's going to really go a long way for our chemistry, which I believe is there and has been there from the start. I'm excited to be in your sphere and your presence and for us to share creative juices together, although that sounds terrible. I want this movie to be healing, and I want to walk you through my whole plan and the work that we're doing with the domestic violence partner that we found no more. You probably have kids all over you and a baby on your boob, and you're listening to me ramble at 2 in the morning. I can't wait to spend more time with you. Okay, I'm done. Cutting myself off. Good night.
All right, so Chris, again, two ways to look at that, right? So his perspective would be, I didn't mean what I was saying. I was in fear for my career. I'm doing whatever I need to say to protect myself. I'm worried about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift. Her position would be, did you hear what he just said on there? I don't care what the context was. I don't care how well-intentioned it was. He's mentioning my boob. He's talking about spending time with me. That's sexual harassment. He's the director of the film. So this is what the dilemma is for a jury if this ever goes to a jury. I mean, how do you put the proper context? How do you view that? Which side does it help more? Not entirely clear.
Yeah, the boob thing has context too, though, because didn't communications come out where she told him she was breastfeeding and that she had to, she was breastfeeding with the baby and to come in, that come talk to me. It's okay. I'm just breastfeeding. So, I mean, there's some context to that. Also, the part I don't get is I don't get the Taylor Swift thing as easily as you do. I don't get it. Well, what does she have to do with any of this?
So let's be clear. She's not named as a defendant, but who is a bigger star, pop star in this world than Taylor Swift? So the idea, if you were confronted face to face by Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift and they say, how great were Blake Lively's rewrites of the script? Weren't they amazing? Would you not feel pressure? I mean,
I get it.
Let's be clear. Justin Baldoni, he's a good actor. He's not Brad Pitt. So, he's going to feel the pressure to acquiesce to her demands. It's all about power and control in this lawsuit.
This is unusual, somebody pushing back the way this guy is right now. What do you think it means for the disposition of this?
I think that this is more important in the court of public opinion than it is the courtroom. I don't even think this might go to trial. I think they want to settle. Look, the idea is who is winning public favor right now. Started with Blake Lively filing her complaint and lawsuit because the press against her was really bad. He comes back and responds, I got a second side to this story. And you look at social media, you look at the coverage. If he is doing better right now, that's exactly what he wants.
Jesse, thank thank you very much for breaking it down. Help me understand this a little bit more. It's good to have you digging in on it. I'm sorry to be eaten into the next show, but it was kind of interesting. So
my pleasure.
Dinner's on me. We'll take a quick break and then pick up coverage on Dan Abrams. Jesse, thank you.